Welcome back, or welcome if you're just joining us. It's The World This Week in partnership with The Daily Beast. Christopher Dickey, foreign editor of The Daily Beast, is with us. As well, Rachel Donadio, reporter at The New York Times. We have with us Franco-Syrian photojournalist Amr Abed-Rabo and Régis Le Sommier of Paris Match. Paris Match is a News Weekly magazine. France will have a new president on Sunday. 39-year-old Emmanuel Macron garnered 2/3 of the vote last Sunday against the far right's Marine Le Pen. Brigitte Macron kissing her husband's hand with the caption, "Hope has won," was the cover of your magazine this week. We're wondering if Paris Match hasn't run out of ideas for cover stories. According to our count, this is the 6th time, am I correct? Yep. 6th time that the next president of France has donned the cover of that publication in the company of his wife.
I don't think we hold the record. I think L'Express has won more than us.
Macron.
You mean both? Yes.
With the couple.
Okay, I admit we're. Yeah.
Why the couple?
Well, why the couple? Because we actually took an interest in them rather early, and they were receptive. I think, to be honest, that knowing that he was going to go through a campaign, he had to sort of explain the age difference.
She's 24 years his senior and was his high school theater teacher.
You may argue that Donald Trump is 24 years older than his wife, and on one way we don't really question it, and this on the other way we do question it. But I think it was smart on his part, because he needed to not clarify but just explain that it was true love, that they were a true couple, that all what they and
your reporter says that. It's true that the hand-holding isn't just fake. It isn't that they really are a couple.
Well, it seems that it is a real couple now. You never know until But what's true is what is that she was. Of course, his teacher. She organized a theater play in which he was the leading character.
That he was sent off to boarding school to separate the two.
Yeah, So it was tough. I mean, you have to imagine that he was living in Amiens, which is a sort of like not a small town exactly, but like small city. And back then, it was very, it was raised eyes to see, especially a teacher going out with one of her students. And that was a real problem in his family. That was a real problem that created problems with the relation with both of his parents. And so I don't think that's the only reason why we took an interest in that couple, but because he was new. And what's new in politics in France is rather rare to find somebody, 39 years old, wanted to run for president. Well, you don't see, you also, the proof of that is all the turmoil after his campaign to find a new majority or to find some new figure as a prime minister. And we have yet to see if it's going to be a real renewal of the French political system.
Which we'll talk about in a moment. Amr Abed-Rabo. The favorite one we had in the newsroom was the couple at the beach together. Of
course, with the nude guy.
Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte together at the beach. Is it also that France, because we've had 2 presidents in a row that have had, there is the symbolic measure of a president with his wife, is France yearning to have a presidential couple? The outgoing president's unmarried, the previous one divorced while in office.
I don't know if people are eager about this, but to be honest with Régis and Paris Match, maybe he's not sure it's a real couple, but it's a real good story. I mean, we're all journalists. It's an amazing story. The guy, he's separated. I mean, they sent him. This is outlaw actually when a teacher has an affair with a young student, even if he's over 15.
Go to jail in the United States.
I mean, it's outlaw even in France. So, but still, they send him away, and he says, "I will come back and marry you at 17 or something, or 16 or something."
You won't get rid of me this easily.
So it's a very good story, You can't and now, of course, for the people, he's young, he's handsome.
Well, and also, I have to say, I think when you see him, even yes, he's on stage, he's in public, but when you see him talk about her and look at her. He gets very emotional. Now, whether he loves her as a wife, lover, mother, sister, whatever, it's clear that he is really emotionally attached to her, profoundly attached to her.
It's just unconventional. And if he's going to be an unconventional politician, then the marriage is unconventional. I mean, rule number one of marriages is you never really know what's happening in anyone else's marriage. But it is an interesting story. And I also think a lot of women are intrigued by it and also find Brigitte quite formidable and interesting character. And there is also a lot of sexism, I think, involved in the kind of, you know, like Trump's wife is way younger than he is, but that's not even an issue. I also find it amazing in France, the fact of Macron's age. It is all anyone talks about. 39-year-old president, Emmanuel Macron, 39-year-old president. Did we remind you that he's very young? He is so young. Oh, by the way, he's also really young. I mean, it's just amazing in the country, but it's because he kind of went around the system. If he'd worked kind of within, you know, his own party.
Since Napoleon, and so
since
that's my
Napoleon,
favorite.
I know,
that's my favorite.
Well,
Since Republic exists.
The Economist, by the way, has also put France's 39-year-old president-elect on its cover this week. This time, though, he's all by himself. Macron's mission there is the cover in The Economist. And that brings us to what Régis was talking about here. There's this feeling that he really is something new, according to that publication. But
yeah, I'm very surprised to see a publication cover talking about France of The Economist, which is not trashing our country or saying really bad stuff.
No, read the editorial. They love them.
That's progress, you know, that on that side.
So far, so good. We'll
So far, so good.
yeah.
But Macron's mission means everything, you know. He's going to be, you know, he's already being caught up with.
But everyone knows what that means. Macron's mission
Is
to
Europe.
reform France.
To reform France and
And to save
And
Europe.
save Europe, and to save Europe.
Europe
First,
is really bad.
reform France, then save Europe. It's a tall order. I mean,
And screw Trump.
it's a lot of, and to
you know,
recalibrate the balance between Europe and the United States.
It was a bit
same
like
price.
when Obama got elected. I mean, you know, he was like Jesus Christ. He was gonna, you know, change everything, and his main mission. And everybody got I mean, a lot of people got disappointed very, very early.
So just to explain to our viewers here, you have this two-round presidential election system. Macron, who ran as an independent and who, from scratch, has to now build a political party in 5 weeks because legislative elections are just around the corner. One French radio station, RTL, claims that the former conservative prime minister, Alain Juppé, has reached a tactical alliance with Macron, and that it'll be one of his political allies that could be the next prime minister, will be named on Monday in this country. Can you do that? Can you, in 5 weeks, build a political party, Amor Abedrabo?
I think seeing this cover and seeing what we've been saying, maybe he could even walk on water, you know. I mean, everything is possible. But yes, I think it can, because usually the French people, of course, this election has been very, very unseen before, or something really exceptional. But usually the French people vote for a president and then give him a majority to
Amar, come on, you've heard.
Even if he doesn't have a party.
You're French, you know this, right? People are annoyed. They're like, come on, is he left wing or is he right wing? Is he left wing or is he right wing?
Does it really matter today?
Well,
Does it really matter? I mean,
yeah, and it's also people. You can say that, but you say the word socialist, and people go, oh.
It matters.
And you say Les Républicains, and people go, oh. And in fact, the only way he can rule, can work in the National Assembly, is if he tears apart the Socialist Party, which has already happened, and also tears apart Les Républicains.
So hang on a sec. If I follow on what you're saying, if he picks a prime minister who is a Les Républicains conservative, or picks a prime minister who is a socialist, either way he's going to alienate a lot of those who supported him.
Well, you know, part of the problem here is we don't know how many people supported him. If you look at the number, if you actually look at the breakdown of the numbers, everybody says 65-35, but if you start looking at the spoiled ballots, the blank ballots, the abstentions, he only got about 44% of the actual registered voters voted for him, and of those, it's impossible to say, but we can guess the number
was
high. We're voting against Le Pen, not for him.
But that's a snapshot of election day, and now he's got the momentum. He's the guy who's been elected.
Run the country. People want him to run the country. They elected him. You'll have to make it work. I would think. I mean, I think the people who did not vote for him, that's the question: is he right or is he left? Because if you're on the left, you don't like him, and if you're on the right, you probably don't like him either. But then the people who did vote for him put him in office and want the country to function.
Well, that's right, but I think there's in a way, Marine Le Pen may be out of the equation now, but still the debate that was that came with her running against him on the second round of this election is still very vivid in terms of. He wants, I think, his intention is to blow up the right-wing party in terms of, like, he may take somebody like Juppé or somebody like the mayor of Le Havre, but are these people really different in terms of what they think, of what they want, and somebody like François Hollande, for instance? I mean, for years, these people have been playing the game of, oh, I'm a socialist, oh, I'm Les Républicains, but a number of people have more in common in terms that they're more towards Europe, they're more turned towards
exactly
Europe.
What Macron is saying. That's who he's
and Macron is going to embody, in a way, what Marine Le Pen was accusing him of being, UMPS, I mean, from the left and from the right, a sort of mixture of the old party and the old system. But the problem will remain between two visions of France, and probably some people that were in the party of Alain Juppé are going to leave and create some sovereignist force or some other, like people like Laurent Wauquiez, for instance. They won't follow the Macron and even François Barouin and even these people. So there's going to be a huge recomposition of the political...
A splintering.
Yeah, well, maybe not a splinter, but at least the people that were denominatorily... to the left or to the right, who had more in common, are going to stick together and rally around Macron, I think.
Yeah, when you look at the French politics in the last 50 years, people are usually fascinated with two figures, Pierre Mendès France and Michel Rocard. And
people
both,
on the left.
De Gaulle.
And both... and both are like Macron. They come from the left and they want something like more rightish or more center policy.
And they were lovable losers of...
And both lost almost every election. I mean, Pierre Mendès France was prime minister for a few weeks, and that's it. So this is now maybe the dream of a lot of French people, today. They want Europe, they want social welfare, they want many things, but still they want maybe a more flexible law on job.
Or maybe this whole left versus right thing doesn't matter as much as it once did.
Yes and no. France is such an ideological country, but on the other hand, a big divide is generational, right? So I think a lot of young people just let us get on with our lives and have jobs and work. But on the other hand, a lot of the young people supported Mélenchon, but more than
the largest number of youngest people, between 18 and 24 were rooting for National Front. So,
and Mélenchon.
And Mélenchon. So,
yeah, it's true. So it is.
No, I think the big problem.
Before they started
in fact,
working,
when he starts to try and revise the labor laws, I think we'll see
which
what
he says he'll do by decree.
Yeah, we've seen it every time this happens. We get hundreds of thousands of young people in the streets who are basically saying we want the same rights and privileges in the workplace that our parents had.
And read the signs, from people from Mélenchon, when they started rioting, or, extreme left people, they say, we voted for you, now we're going to fight you.
Yes, that's the nice way of
it was addressed to Macron directly. So.
But I mean, young people before they start working have been, 18 to 24 have been Mélenchon supporters, and then 24 to 34, when you kind of start working, I think we're a little bit more in the Macron camp. But I mean, it's interesting because there's this will for change, for reform, want something new, and then there's the kind of we want to keep things the way they used to be. I don't know.
Well, I think reform is the hard thing here. Revolution, lots of people like revolution in this country. And
reform never works. Revolution
reform is not the thing here. Reform has never been a thing.
It's always chaotic when there's a change in France.
I will have coverage, by the way, of Inauguration Day, Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Paris time. Covering campaigns and 4 rounds of elections in 5 weeks, that's nothing compared to what awaits Rachel Donadio and Amr Abed-Rabo, the sleepless 10-day frenzy they call the Cannes Film Festival. The curtain goes up next Wednesday, And already there's controversy. This year, it's over 2 films in competition, The Meyerowitz Stories and Okja. The problem is the producers. Not a studio, not a television channel, but Netflix, the video streaming service, which had no intention of screening them in movie houses. Cannes Festival director Thierry Frémaux still hoping Netflix will change its mind. Either way, as of next year, all films up for awards at Cannes will have to schedule a theater run.
I agree that a film should be released in a theater and that spectators should have access to it. But at the same time, what are we talking about? A huge number of films at Cannes unfortunately don't make it to the theaters.
Rachel Donato, you've been writing about this. What's interesting about this story is that, well, first of all, it shows that we're not consuming, if you will, our movies the way we used to.
True. What happened here is that Netflix, when you release a film in French theaters, you have to wait 36 months before the film can then go to a streaming service like Netflix. And Netflix and many other people in the French film world find that a remarkably long delay, too long a delay. But in order to reduce that delay, there are all kinds of other players involved. If there are the television channels, there are the pay TV channels, there are the free TV channels, there are all these French actors who pay into the French system that then underwrites French film. So in order to have Netflix, it's kind of the battle between what Macron is up against. How can you keep French traditions and how can you kind of compete in a global economy? And the compromise that Cannes struck was, okay, this year we'll let the Netflix films in, but we kind of hope that within the next year you guys come to some kind of agreement on this 36-month delay, and then all films in the future will have to be shown in French theaters. France is one of the most vibrant film audiences in Europe, in the world. There are more theaters here than in other countries in Europe, more filmgoers, more revenues, but at the same
more
time,
films made.
And more films made. And so it really is kind of it puts Cannes in this Cannes kind of French institution, global institution. And I think that this was really this was a compromise. And the films will still be in competition. They're good. They're, films by big deal directors, Noah Baumbach and also Bong Joon-ho, the Korean director. So to remove them from competition would have caused an international scandal. To keep them in competition is a problem because the CNC, France's National Theatre Center, pays for more than half of the budget of Cannes, and its purpose is to kind of support the French system. So if you let Netflix break that rule by being shown in theaters, then you kind of go against the whole, it's all interconnected.
Are the French movie houses right, Amar Abdrabou?
It's not just a tradition or an old guard fight, It's, as Rachel said, it's one of the countries that has today, in Europe, most theaters and most production. And it's also because of these laws, and because of the TV channels have to support movie production. It's not their choice. It's something like... So it looks like a bit old guard, but it is very important for the French movie theater. On the other hand, we have to acknowledge and we have to realize that we are in a different world today. In the same week, there's something else than the cinema, the sport TV affair with SFR. SFR has
TV rights for the Champions League.
They won the most important matches in Europe, but they don't have a TV channel. And you will have to find it on a way if if you don't have a mobile phone for SFR. So this is a new world. This is new habits, new players we don't know before. We didn't know about them. So, yes, we have to find new ways to work.
Netflix's business model is not show the movie in the theater. It's watch the movie at home and stream it at home. And so it doesn't want to change that business model. And for it to be shown in theaters, then, it kind of, that's not the point. On the other hand, what happens when you have to wait 36 months before you see something? There's rampant piracy. And that's how a lot of people see things. So it's hard to fight that, too.
A lot of people criticize the French, Christopher Dickey, over the way they protect their film industry. But the French answer, well, hey, look at the German industry, look at the British industry, look at the Italian industry, and see how they've done without those safeguards.
Oh, no, I think it's good that the French keep alive French filmmaking, and it has allowed over the years a lot of flexibility, a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of creative stuff. Look at how formulaic American films are these days. It's always a remake of something that's gone before. It's just stunning. So I think it's great that the French film industry is what it is, but I think the theaters are dead. I look at the way I watch movies. I look at the way everybody watches movies. If you go into any of the big electronic stores, Darty or Fnac, you see these walls of these super high resolution screens. Frankly, that's the way everybody's going to watch movies.
Do you agree, Régis, that the movie theater is dead?
No,
I
think
say that. It's not
I think
in France.
there will always be some people that would go to the movie theater and enjoy being seated in a dark room. But I agree with Chris in a way that France is always look at the music industry. Look at our industry, the press. We have been shaken very, very, by the digital age. Not that the movies theater hasn't been, but to keep it like a shrine or something like a very when. The way people consume movie, the way people look at movie, even ourselves. I mean, sometimes we may look at a part of a movie on our screen. Sometimes we're going to look at a movie in a plane. So
not anymore.
All of it. In the planes movie.
I mean, in the plane.
Let me just say, it's not that I want this to happen. I mean, it breaks my heart. La Pagode, one of my favorite theaters here, beautiful Chinese chinoiserie building, it's totally boarded up now. It'll never open again. It's dead. And I think that's a shame.
All right. Well,
but that's life.
Honestly, to say something like this 4 or 5 days before Cannes Film Festival, where people will be queuing for hours at 7 a.m. to watch movies.
To watch the movies that they will then watch on their phones.
No. To watch movies as a collective experience in the darkness, etc., etc., etc.
The magic of Cannes is when you watch a movie and the light comes back and the actors are in the room. That's something,
That's right. But
something
you know what?
If
you're watching it at home in bed, it's even better if the actors are
You have connections.
The uncouth Christopher Dickey with the final word there. We've run out of time. I want to thank Christopher Mohamed Rapo, Régis Le Sommier, Rachel Donadio. Stay with us, though. Media Watch is next.
Films lately. All that state funding goes to make totally.
We're still continuing.
Boring films.
We're still arguing about movies here. Dipti Konoho, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine. I'm sorry, I don't have films to talk about.
It's a heated argument over whether movie houses have a future in this country. A heated argument over whether the man that Emmanuel Macron made his big alliance with on the campaign trail, a three-time presidential candidate, François Bayrou, whether Bayrou perhaps is now asking for a little too much when it comes to that slate of candidates for legislative elections next month.
That's right. Is the bromance dead? You might be wondering that today in the press. Emmanuel Macron hasn't even been inaugurated yet, and he's already facing a very uphill battle with François Bayrou, who you said was one of his staunchest supporters. He abandoned his own presidential campaign to back Macron as well. It's become a psychodrama. That's what Le Point, the French newspaper.
Psychodrama.
Le psychodrame, that's what they call it on the website of Le Point, and saying that that beautiful alliance has sort of just been shot to pieces. Really, it stems from a dispute over Macron's list of parliamentary candidates for the upcoming June elections. Bayrou says his party is not represented enough. He wanted around 113 of the 577
They currently have 2 seats in parliament.
That's right. And they've only been given 35 candidates. So he's not happy. Bloomberg says it's one of the real tests that Macron is facing in transforming his movement into a veritable...
He's going to have to show his hand.
That's right. And also adding to that is you have some of the French press that say that Macron actually admitted to Bayrou in a phone conversation that his team screwed up or went rogue, essentially, which, if true, in itself is kind of not a good sign for the young president and the control or lack thereof that he has. On Twitter, though, you've got a lot of people coming to his support. This user says, Bayrou makes me think of those white letters in Scrabble. They have no real value, but they're useful for plugging holes, which is not very nice. This person has posted a meme of what Macron's reaction might have been when Bayrou said he wanted all those seats. And finally, this user says, Macron is a little bit like that friend who carries 1% of the boxes when you're moving house, but wants 50% of the beers.
Well, you don't ask, you don't get. Speaking of boxes, the French outgoing president has been packing his this Friday.
That's right. We've been looking at some of the cartoons. This one's really great. You have Hollande here telling Macron, I'm leaving you my official vehicles, a pedal boat.
A scooter.
And, of course, our famous scooter. In reaction, I don't think we need to go back on that scandal. But we all remember the croissant and the illicit lover. This user, this cartoonist has just summed up Hollande's 5 years in power, where you just basically see him getting more and more overweight, I guess. So is that the only change that he brought about in his mandate? Finally, you have this user who says, Hollande says to Macron, oh, you don't have to keep all the things of my legacy.
There's that scooter reference again.
There's that black helmet, the unemployment that just keeps rising, and an umbrella in reference to the bad weather that frequently accompanied Hollande whenever he was on an official function.
And would make speeches in the rain.
Rain Man.
Something else you're watching for us. We've talked about Bill O'Reilly, that CNN's one of his top anchors being accused of sexism.
That's right. Anderson Cooper was interviewing Kellyanne Conway, Donald Trump's advisor, earlier this week, and Conway was defending Trump's decision to fire James Comey. And that's not the reason it's making news. Anderson Cooper produced what some call the mother of all eye rolls, which is here. And it went viral, but Kellyanne Conway has accused him of being sexist. And, you know, it's sort of brought out this divide once again between the liberals and the conservatives. On Twitter, people are coming in defense of both sides. This user says Anderson Cooper was pompous. Another user says it's you know, disrespectful of the conservatives and clearly unprofessional. But then Anderson Cooper's got a lot of support as well on Twitter. I just want to show you one tweet. This user says, has posted this picture. Sometimes you just can't be responsible for the way your face reacts when someone's talking.
All right. It sounds like Twitter's not going to solve this argument.
No, certainly not.
I want to thank you. I want to thank our panel once again. Thank you for joining us here in The World This Week.